How did the Colorado Rockies go from this?
Check swing roller. Tulowitzki. Colorado's the National League champion.
To this.
Number 9 hitter comes up.
Right side again. That's another base knock to just about the same spot for Trey Sweeney. The ball gets away. Sweeney into second. Here comes Baez. It is 8-0. That's the third Rockies error. And everybody in attendance is either clapping or booing right now.
The Colorado Rockies are the worst team in Major League Baseball by a wide margin. They might be the worst team in North American professional sports. Their record sits at historically bad at the time of this recording. Through a couple months of play, we have the worst record in MLB history. They're on pace to get outscored by over 500 runs. The previous worst was a negative run differential of negative 349, so even if the Rockies improve a lot, they could still surpass the 1932 Red Sox for worst run differential ever. Maybe rock bottom was losing 21-0 to the Padres on May 10th. Maybe rock bottom is being on pace to lose the most games in MLB history, a record that was set by the White Sox with 121 in 2024. The Rockies are gonna give the abomination that was the 2024 White Sox reprieve after a year? But wait, there's more, because they're on pace to break or tie the Cleveland Spiders record for losses at 134 set in 1899, which is considered pre-modern baseball era. We can't be talking about records that were set 15 years before World War I started. The Rockies are a train wreck, devoid of talent, direction, leadership, and accountability. The standings show the product, or lack thereof, on the field. But I want to explain how they got here, why they're an abomination to the great state of Colorado and its excellent fans, and whether or not they can fix it. I found Woody Page's tweet about the state of the franchise very on point. Quote, "It's actually not amazing that one man could destroy a city's love for baseball, but it's amazing that the one man is not a carpetbagger who came from somewhere else, but has spent his entire life in the state. That's the sadness." Welcome to That's Good Sadness. I'm Brandon Perna, and we're going balls deep into the Colorado Rockies here on That's Good Sports. Huge shout out to Will Keys, who wrote this episode. If I sound smart, it's because of him. And Johnny Barks, who edited this monster in less than 48 hours. Those two guys are the heart and soul of this channel, so make sure you show them some love on the socials or wherever. I mean, don't show up to their house or anything, but show them the love. And don't forget to subscribe. Did we get over 750,000 subs? Did we? If we did, then we need to get to 800K. Subscribe. Unless you want more baseball videos, because probably gonna do one a year. The only positive Rockies stat that I've seen this year was one bringing up the 2012 team and another shitting on the Pirates, with the Rockies being the lowest common denominator that the Pirates were actually worse than. Since their inception, though, in 1993, the Colorado Rockies haven't always been good, but for most of their existence, they've at least been competent, or at the very least fun to watch. When Eric Young Sr. homered in the Rockies' first at-bat at Mile High Stadium, it was a sign of things to come. Now we all know Denver sits at a mile above sea level, and for football and basketball, that's always been seen as an advantage in terms of conditioning and general psychology. The Broncos have been a historically good home team, in part because their opponents wear down in the second half. No such advantage exists in the sport of baseball. The only difference here is gravity. The breaking pitches don't break like they do elsewhere, and balls carry and carry and carry, sometimes to astounding lengths.
And 51 batted in, he mashes the first pitch, could it go? Goodbye! High drive, straight away center, phone it in, goodbye! And here's the shift, back to back.
The Blake Street Bombers, Larry Walker, Andres Galarraga, and Dante Bichette were clobbering balls past the wall in Coors Field, their 1995 built ballpark. But so were visiting teams, sitting over 4,000 feet higher than the second highest elevated park. The ball was flying out of the yard.
Some say your power hitting started the same day you moved to the thin air of Colorado.
You know, Larry and I are getting a little tired of that.
To try to compensate for the elevation, and just as critically the dry air of Colorado, the fences were placed deep in the outfield, but that just created sprawling, cavernous outfields that resulted in a high number of doubles and triples. It's not just that balls travel further or are drunker in Coors Field than they do elsewhere. A problem MLB has tried to address by placing the baseballs in a humidor to combat dryness. It's that the balls don't break out of a pitcher's hand the same way they would elsewhere. Because there's less air in Colorado for balls to interact with, a curveball with vertical break will lose about 2 to 4 inches of drop-off on average. And when a curveball doesn't break right, it often ends up in the stands. Just in very basic terms of physics, no man wants to deal with losing 2 to 4 inches anywhere. We might not want to acknowledge it, but it puts some men in the negative when that happens. Not me, but some men. That environment in Colorado has historically been hostile to pitchers and explains why free agents have been deterred from signing with the Rockies. There's also the theory, and it's still just a theory, that the Rockies suffer from a Coors Field hangover. And I know all about being hungover from too much Coors.
Water is your friend, drink!
Whether or not jumping from high to low elevation truly makes hitting more difficult for the Rockies, their .385 all-time road winning percentage would suggest that they've been the worst road team since they joined the MLB in 1993. In 2020, former Rockies outfielder and legend Charlie Blackmon said, "The hardest part for me about playing in Denver is when you leave Denver. The ball acts differently out of the pitcher's hand. The only variable is the atmosphere. But unfortunately, that one little variable is the difference between me getting a hit and me striking out on the same pitch. So that little variable is dastardly." Blackmon played his entire 14-year career with the Rockies. His batting average at home was .329. Outstanding. Hall of Fame numbers. On the road, just a pedestrian .256. It's not out of the ordinary to play better at home, but the Rockies' home-road splits are too drastic to ignore. Now, I set up all of that background to say this. The Colorado Rockies face more natural challenges outside of their own control than perhaps any other team in professional sports.
You are breathing 20% less oxygen than anyone else in the game of baseball. Suck it up!
They have the built-in original sin of living 5,280 feet above sea level. It's not debilitating, but it's a problem you have to overcome, and at times, they did. Now, the Rockies have never won the NL West, but on 5 occasions have reached the playoffs, most notably in 2007. The Rockies were 76-72 on September 16th and went on an unimaginable 14-1 run to close out the regular season, setting up a 1-game playoff with the San Diego Padres, where they trailed 8-6 in the bottom of the 13th inning. And then this shit happened.
Matsui out towards right center field. That's going to get down into the gap to the track in the wall. Tulowitzki towards the gap in left center field. That's going to get down to right field. Giles headed back. Giles at the track. He jumps and is unable to make the catch. Around from second base comes Tulowitzki. He will tie the score at 8 as to third goes Holiday with a triple that has tied the game at 8 in the 13th. To right field. Giles is there to make the catch. Tagging is Holiday. The throw to the plate. He is safe. The Colorado Rockies are the National League wild card winners.
Matt Holliday! Oh, thank God for Matt Holliday, who also fucking left the Rockies. Was Matt Holliday out at the plate? I don't know. That's not for me to say, but I will say he was 100% safe. Let the Rockies have one fucking nice thing, okay? All I know is that if this ball Garrett Atkins hit to left was correctly ruled a home run, it wouldn't have been an issue. The Rockies got into the postseason anyway. They swept the Phillies and then swept the NL West champion Diamondbacks. And their reward for making short order of the National League? An 8-day layoff in between the NLCS and the World Series where the hottest team in baseball had too much time to cool off. And cool off they did, losing 4-0 to the Boston Red Sox, getting outscored by 19 runs in the process. Rocktober came to an abrupt end. Knowing where the Rockies are now, it feels like that was and will be their only real chance to win a Super Bowl for baseball. The Rockies have made the postseason 3 times since, in 2009, 2017, and 2018. But since getting swept in the World Series, they've won just 1 game in the NLDS. It's not for lack of top-tier talent either. Colorado has been home to Hall of Famer Todd Helton.
Ooh, that's got dinger written all over it.
Heads up!
5-time All-Star Troy Tulowitzki, 2-time Silver Slugger Carlos Gonzalez. One of my best friend's dog was named Cargo, for Christ's sake.
My cargo, 160, swiftly.
And another guy whose story neatly coincides with the Rockies' steep decline, Russell Wilson, who was drafted by the Rockies in 2010. Oops, I mean Nolan Arenado. But technically, the Rockies could have had both Arenado and prime Russell Wilson.
Let's ride.
Let's dinger. The Rockies drafted Nolan Arenado in the 2nd round of the 2009 MLB draft out of El Toro High School in California. By 2013, he was in the big leagues. By 2015, he was an all-star, a Gold Glove winner, and a Silver Slugger at third base. In short, he punished pitchers like Tommy John himself. 3 times he led the NL in home runs, and twice he led all of the MLB in runs batted in. He also made some of the craziest plays you've ever seen at third base. There's a reason the guy has 10 Gold Gloves. He was not only the best player on the team, he was the Rockies' heart and soul, the balls of the club. In 2019, following 2 straight postseason appearances, it was time for Arenado to get paid, and get paid what he actually deserved, which was a lot. So on February 26th, the Colorado Rockies gave him an 8-year, $260 million extension. On paper, it looked great, but the devil is always in the details. And in this case, there were 2 devils. Rockies owner and CEO Dick Monfort, and then general manager Jeff Bridich. Bridich inserted a no-trade clause and a player option after the 2021 season, meaning Arenado could opt out and leave after that season. But Arenado didn't ask for that. Bridich insisted on it, and it's because they never intended to pay Arenado the full $260 million. And when asked about the clause, Bridich was bizarrely honest about his incompetence.
I was the one who actually pushed for that opt-out. To Nolan's credit, he didn't have a ton of interest in that initially. Being in there, it wasn't a priority of his for it to be in there. I was the one who thought it might be a good idea.
Do you understand how insane that is? It is batshit crazy. But I'm going to try to explain it. The Rockies front office, including Bridich and Monfort, didn't want to commit that much money to Arenado over 8 years, but they felt pressured to spend that money, or at least appear like they wanted to spend that kind of money. The Rockies posted a losing record in 2019 before COVID hit in 2020. They had failed to make any meaningful roster moves to build around Arenado, and Jeff Bridich didn't seem to care. This pissed off Arenado, and rightfully so. Things were coming to a boiling point in 2020. Quote, "There's a lot of disrespect from people there that I don't want to be a part of," Arenado said in a text to Thomas Harding at MLB.com, and you can quote that. Owner and CEO Dick Monfort had a choice. Option A, fire Jeff Bridich, the guy who ruined the relationship with the best player on the team and one of the best players in franchise history before it's too late. Or option B.
Breaking news, big deal in the works. The Cardinals have agreed to acquire Rockies third baseman Nolan Arenado.
Not only did the Rockies trade Nolan Arenado to the St. Louis Cardinals, they threw in $50 million in cash. Fucking outrageous. But surely they got a haul of young prospects in return, right? Right? Mateo Gil. He played 153 games in the Rockies farm system before getting snatched up by the Mets in the minor league Rule of 5 draft. He's currently playing in the Mexican League. Tony Losi, traded to Tampa Bay for cash in 2023, never made the bigs, currently not playing affiliated baseball. Jake Summers, can't even spell summer right, reached AAA in Albuquerque, but never Colorado, go Topes. Retired in June of 2024. Eleris Montero, the prize prospect in the trade, he's playing for the Hiroshima Toyo Carp in Japan after 3 seasons in Colorado where he posted a negative 1.7 wins above replacement. Austin Gomber was already a major leaguer at the time of the trade. He's been an adequate starter, but he's currently on the injured list. So all in all, as of 2025, the Rockies got an okay but injured starter for Nolan Arenado. To put this into football terms, it would be like the Bengals trading Joe Burrow to free up cap space, and more importantly, in-house cash space. In return, got Zadarius Smith, Solomon Thomas, a couple mid-round picks that never panned out, Kenny Pickett, and Van Jefferson. I don't fucking know. I don't think you can make a comp for it. It was that shitty of a trade. Bridich stepped down from his GM role just a couple months after he traded his team's best player. One rival executive told The Athletic that he wanted Bridich, who was described as condescending and quick-tempered by team employees, to keep his job. That pretty much says it all. He didn't want to commit to Arenado, but didn't want to risk the bad PR by letting him walk. Instead, he ended up with PR bad enough to cost him his job, and he left the Rockies without any sort of direction. Of course, Nolan Arenado wasn't the only player of note when the Rockies traded him. They still had their shortstop, Trevor Story, who came up right after Colorado traded Troy Tulowitzki and made back-to-back All-Star appearances in 2018 and 2019. Story watched the team fall apart in 2021 without Arenado, and he justifiably wanted to get out before he was set to hit free agency that winter. So naturally, it would have made sense to trade him before.
Rockies shortstop Trevor Story is confused after not being traded before the Major League trade deadline, according to Patrick Saunders of the Denver Post. The quote from Trevor Story is this: "I don't have really anything good to say about the situation and how it unfolded."
The Rockies could have traded Story at the deadline when they were 44-59, by the way, and gotten something. Anything. Instead, he walked in free agency, and Colorado received a compensatory pick. Same goes for their ace, John Gray. They could have gotten something. And unlike Story, they didn't even offer him a qualifying offer, so they didn't get the comp pick. Imagine just having to write up a boilerplate contract you know the player won't sign, and in exchange, you get a draft pick, and you simply choose not to. Sir, just point to any item on the dessert menu, and we'll bring you a free dessert. I don't think so. Nah. Of course, after letting those two walk, you could at least, bottom out and start a youth movement. And what do the Rockies do? They give $182 million to Kris Bryant. Let's check in on Kris during his first home series with the Rockies.
Freeman hits one in the air to left for Kris Bryant. Takes off and he drops it.
Let's check in on Kris 2 years later. Bryant was the NL MVP in 2016 with the Cubs. By 2024, he was hitting .218 and appeared in just 37 games. He's played 11 games so far in 2025 and has struck out 13 times. But mostly, he's been injured.
Lumbar degenerative disc disease. What? A degenerative disc disease?
Bryant said before the 2024 season that when he signed with a floundering Colorado team that I guess I didn't do as much research into the prospects as I could, which actually kind of makes him a perfect Rocky right now when you think about it. He's like the inverse Aaron Rodgers, not even taking the time to do his own research.
This means a lot to me, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
By this time, though, Bill Schmidt was the general manager. He is still the general manager, even though the team has posted a 262 to 385 win-loss record in his first 4 seasons in that position. Bridich was incompetent. Schmidt is incompetent. Manager Bud Black was the fall guy, but the gross negligence goes up to the top, right? The one thing that is causing all of these problems cannot be changed, and I'm talking about Tricky Dick himself, Dick Monfort.
I have a lot of respect for Dick.
Like a man dick?
Yeah, so he had to use every inch of that. Has been the CEO of the Colorado Rockies since 2003. He has been the one constant through all of their turmoil and the chief reason for their downfall.
Dick needs to sell the team.
Dick has claimed that he wants to win, but he's never made any significant investment in the team's analytics department.
This really isn't a job to me or most of the people that work here.
And yes, he has spent money on players from time to time, but the amount of times he's done it correctly are rare. They're rare. In 2020, they had just 1 employee in the analytics department. 1. The Moneyball season took place 18 years before that, and the Rockies couldn't be bothered to hire more than 1 Jonah Hill.
Just kind of sit around all day and draw pictures of dicks.
And if you've seen how skinny Jonah Hill is lately, they could have at least tried to get 2 skinny Jonah Hills for the price of 1 big Jonah Hill. That same season, Colorado used more than a half dozen front office employees to shine shoes, do laundry, and buy chewing tobacco, often pulling double duty and working from 9 a.m. to 2 a.m.
I wash and dry. I'm like a single mother.
They chose front office staff to function as clubhouse attendants rather than pay furloughed part-time employees. That's how cheap they are. Put simply, the Rockies operate on a different, lesser plane of existence than the other 29 teams in Major League Baseball, and the dick stops with buck. I mean, the buck stops with dick. Here's some more embarrassing shit. In case that wasn't enough, in 2024, the Federal Aviation Administration and United Airlines investigated the Rockies for an incident on a chartered flight from Denver to Toronto. The incident in question, hitting coach Hensley Mullins somehow ended up in the cockpit of the team plane. He also didn't seem the most, sober? I am a little disappointed that Nathan Fielder didn't address this incident in the latest season of The Rehearsal. If you're unfamiliar with aviation laws, hitting coaches are not allowed in the cockpit of airplanes. But in Hensley's defense, he was trying to show the pilots how to not hit things in the air, something he was helping the Rockies achieve on the field as well. Every time you think it can't get worse with this team, it gets a little bit worse, and it's reaching a boiling point for Dick Monfort, whose dick should actually be boiled. No offense.
One fan is suing the team.
Yeah, so that man claims he was hit by a foul ball. Now he's arguing the teams have not been winning enough for people to pay full attention to the games, increasing the risk of injuries.
Monfort has always been outspoken as the team's CEO, whether it's responding to emails from fans. Yes, he actually used to read emails from anybody and oftentimes would reply. The worst example of Dick firing up the old iPad and responding to his fan mail was in 2014 when Monfort told a season ticket holder, quote, "By the way you talk, maybe Denver doesn't deserve a franchise. Maybe time for it to find a new home. Thanks." Obviously, the thanks at the end really makes up for threatening to relocate the team. Just like when I said no offense after suggesting Dick's dick should be boiled. Monfort responded to another fan who filled out a survey saying, quote, "If product and experience are that bad, don't come." Which makes me think this is Dick Monfort.
Do not come. Do not come.
But also, these are Rockies fans.
Oh, I'm gonna come.
They're gonna come. They're gonna come. We want to be at Coors Field, okay? It's a rite of passage here in Colorado.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, so he had to use every inch of that.
Here's the dilemma for everyone who wants good baseball in Colorado. The team is awful, and I think I've done a decent job at outlining how and why that's happened. But the Coors Field experience is still a great one. It's a beautiful place to spend a day or an evening. And while attendance rates have dipped, people who don't really care about the on-field product are showing up. In 2018, the last time the Rockies made the postseason, they were drawing around 37,000 fans per game. In 2024, it dipped to 31,000. This year, 2025, it's dipped all the way to under 25,000, the lowest attendance per game since 2005, when the Rockies only won 67 games. Obviously, it's going to be a miracle for the Rockies to win 67 games this season, but they're still drawing more fans than 11 other MLB teams. Though in fairness, the A's and Tampa Bay Rays aren't playing in full capacity stadiums this year. At least players like Kyle Schwarber can blast 466-foot home runs at Coors Field, which was his 300th career home run, and he did it in front of a nice little home crowd, per his own words.
I wish could have done it at home, but we got a nice little home crowd here right here. Yeah.
I'm not saying fans shouldn't go to the games or that casual fans of baseball shouldn't spend their money on a bad baseball team, but it does create a scenario where the worst baseball team, and I mean the worst baseball team, maybe historically speaking, is not significantly affecting the bottom line. Colorado has a ton of transplants from out of state who want to see their hometown team play at Coors Field, and I don't blame them, especially knowing their team is likely to win right now. I don't blame Rockies fans who still go to watch their team live. I do blame everyone who shows up without a sign that reads, "Boil Dick's Dick," and also sell the team. Show up with that sign and maybe the fear of getting your dick boiled he'll sell. Come on, at least one person do it. The Monforts took full control of the Rockies in 2005. The only reason they were part of the early ownership stake was because the original founders, John Antonucci and Michael Monas, heads of the first ownership group, were ousted because of an embezzlement scandal. My point, the Monfort bros got all in on the Rockies for less than $100 million, and the team is currently worth $1.48 billion. They could sell the team for 15x their original investment to someone who might know how to spend money appropriately.
Dick Monfort is back in the investment business again, this time spending $8 million on Macaroni Grill with a couple of partners. So he spent more money on Macaroni Grill than he did on his opening day start.
Macaroni Grill has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection.
The bottom line is that Dick Monfort must sell the team. The situation will not improve until he exits the picture. He's proved himself incompetent and malicious at times. Rockies fans deserve a team that's at least going to be competent, a team that's going to spend money wisely, and a team that's going to modernize itself through analytics. Foolish Baseball posted a video in 2021 titled "The Rockies Stink." I'm not sure he imagined how much worse they would stink 4 years later, but he does outline how the Rockies need to approach things going forward, and I think it's still relevant. Here are some of the main points. The Rockies need to have Coors Field in mind when constructing a roster, meaning they need athletic, rangy outfielders who can cover all of that ground in the outfield. They need pitchers with dominant four-seam fastballs and sliders because those pitches are the least affected by the thin air, and the Rockies need to start from the ground up. They're years away from competing with a juggernaut NL West, so they need to do a full-blown rebuild. And by that, I mean actually trading your expiring players at the deadline and not signing washed-up vets like Kris Bryant. No offense. Unfortunately, that's not so simple. The Rockies don't have a ton of assets. Their farm system is middle of the pack at best. And because of anti-tanking rules, here's the worst part. The Rockies will not be able to pick higher than 10th overall in the 2026 MLB draft because teams are not allowed to receive top 6 draft picks 3 years in a row. They're the worst team in professional sports. They might finish as the worst baseball team of all time, and they won't even have a top 10 pick to show for it. That's truly amazing. It would be like the 0-16 Lions having to settle for defensive end Aaron Mabin instead of getting to draft Matthew Stafford after losing every game. I usually end these kind of videos with a sense of optimism. Right now, though, I don't see any. But I'll reiterate that baseball fans in Colorado deserve better. The Rockies are a national punchline. The guy who fired Bud Black needs to look in the mirror and fire himself. If that happens, maybe in 5 years or so, they'll have a team that's ready to compete. Go Rockies. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Deep dive into the Colorado Rockies. If this video gets 50,000 likes and 1 million views, maybe we'll do another baseball video. Maybe we will. Maybe we will. Maybe. Maybe?
I'm gonna come.